Halo Infinite has arguably the best customization system in a Halo game to date, with no shortage in the types of Spartans that players can build. Of course, a lot of the armor available is locked behind a paywall, but the system in which you actually customize your Spartan is nothing short of amazing, providing almost endless possibilities in the various ways that players can make their character look. Of course, the system is far from perfect, whether that be something like the lack of diverse body types, or the fact that we can't pick out individual colours like we could in prior titles. However, with that being said, I still think the customization in Infinite is absolutely amazing, and sitting in the armor hall testing out all these different combinations is a lot of fun, which brings us to today. Over the past couple of months, I made a couple of videos where I asked you all for suggestions on Spartan builds that I should try to create, whether that just be a general idea of how a Spartan should look, or different types of fictional characters. And of course, I am back at it yet again. So with that being said, and without wasting any more time, let's jump straight in. Starting things off strong, we do have a submission that has been asked for a couple of times before. However, I had to wait until the Japanin event had released in order to actually complete this one to a standard I was happy with. This suggestion comes from Dialing Mirror 85, and it was to create a Death Trooper now that the Conqueror helmet was available. Of course, the one problem here was I needed to buy the Conqueror bundle. But I'm not one to let people down, and I did promise that I would make this build once the Japanin 2 was here. Here I'm using the Cinder Ring coating, the far shoulder pads, the Conqueror helmet, and of course the free Kai visor that was a login bonus during the first week of the Spirit of Fire event, I believe. However, I did have a couple people in the comments tell me that it would look better with a green visor, so I did do a second version as well, which is pretty much exactly the same, except I changed the visor for the enlisted option. Then Rox Kai mentioned that one Evangelion unit that I don't know the name of because I've never watched the show, and said that Conqueror would be perfect for this kind of build. So I did try my best to complete this look, but honestly I'm not all that happy with the result. However, if you do want to see a much better version, here is one that Zero Reality cooked up. Digion then asked me to create a GDA unit from Invincible, and of course I had to give it my best shot. I think one of my favourite things about this build is I believe everything here either was or is still free, with the exception of the gloves. The helmet is of course the base Chimera, with the shoulder pads being those that belong to the Rakshasa Corps. I'm obviously using the Mark 5B, and the coating being used was available in the Spirit of Fire event, so if you completed that while it was still free, you will obviously have this coating. And the visor I believe was in the Winter Update Battle Pass regardless. Striker then asked me to recreate the Ethan skin from Modern Warfare, and although honestly I don't think my build ended up being super accurate to the thing that I was asked to create, overall I just think it's a pretty cool looking Spartan. This next one is potentially one of my favourite builds from this round, being a Frontier Buccaneer, once again using the Cinder Ring coating and the Master Builder visor alongside Emil's EVA helmet, with the Rakshasa Corps I think suiting this look perfectly. The next one is an idea from Sergeant Blair, and one that he kept asking me for, and that is to make a bread Spartan. Now I spent a good while wrapping my head around how exactly a bread Spartan would look, and I kind of based this design more so off of a toasted baguette, with its striking brown exterior supposed to represent the crust, with the Spartan containing some delicious squishy bread inside. Captain Cabot then said it'd be cool if I tried to recreate Jonah and Roland from the Headhunters story. So I started off with Mr. Redfella, using the Mirage Core, the Volant helmet, and the visor that was with the Combat Evolved kit. I then later attempted Mr. Greenfella, again using the same visor, the Mark IV Core's default coating, the ODST shoulders, and honestly, although I don't think these two are anything too special, overall I would argue they are pretty solid builds. My friend Nulled Retry then asked me to make the fella from Metal Gear 5, the one that I'm pretty sure isn't Solid Snake.
No, that is not Solid Snake!
And I do kind of like how this build looks, and obviously probably looking at it and thinking, you forgot the prosthetic arm, which is true, I did, which is why I went back and made the same thing again, but just changed one of the arms to be the prosthetic. Obviously the goal here was less so to try and make a Spartan that looked like him, but more so what kind of armor would he wear if he was a Spartan. I used this helmet specifically because its attachment covers up half the visor to try and represent the eye patch, and overall I still think the build has a pretty tactical, militaristic feel. Okay, this next one wasn't really a community suggestion, but more so just one that I wanted to do myself. Obviously, in one of these videos in the past, I mentioned that I started collecting Gundam or Gunpla or whatever, just because I simply thought they looked cool. And I recently picked up the Zoart unit, not 100% sure if I pronounced that right, but as soon as I built the thing, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try and make this in Halo. And yeah, you know, I tried. Moving on, Grungus then asked me to create Liberty Prime, and with everyone being in a massive Fallout mood as of late, I had to give this one a shot. I used the Eagle Strike core because, of course I did, with the Master Builder coating and visor, as I believe they were the ones that best represented the colour scheme out of the items that I had available. I also used some of the prosthetic limbs, which might not have been the best choice, but I know some parts of Liberty Prime do look quite skinny in proportion to the rest of its body, which I tried to represent here. Mayonnaise19 then asked me to create Commando from Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain is a game I've dabbled in here and there, mostly just with mods. But regardless, I looked at this one and thought it was definitely one I could achieve. And overall, I don't think the end result turned out too terribly. I do think if I had the Burrow lens helmet, that would probably suit the look a bit better alongside the Legend visor. But with the items I had available, I think I made a relatively solid attempt. This one also made me realise how often I use the base Rigshasa shoulder pads. Now, user Skirps Wiggums did kinda show me up with this one with his objectively better looking version of the Commando. Noble Ninja in the Discord asked me to make the Masked Rider. For this one, I used the Chimera core with the Kabuto helmet and a nice red visor. Although I tried my best for this one, I honestly don't like the end result very much. Mary Casmus then asked me to create the Onyx Guard from Gears of War. As a big Gears fan, I obviously wanted to give this one a shot. I know I had attempted a Gears of War build in a prior video, I think it was one of the ULLR soldiers, so I don't think I've done an Onyx Guard yet. But anyway, I used the Mirage core with the Cinder Ring coating, the Master Builder visor, and the Vanik variant of the EOD helmet. There is probably better helmet choices out there, and honestly, I don't think this build looked super accurate in the end. Someone did suggest Hazmat, and maybe that would look a bit better. Honestly, I think there is a few pieces of armor, like the Burrow Lens bundle I mentioned just had some shoulder pads that would probably suit this look perfectly, but unfortunately I don't own those. So out of what I had, this is the best I could come up with. Your friend Virgil in the Discord then asked me to make Gordon Freeman. For this one, I used the Hazmat core and the Papaya Dust coating. As a whole, this is a relatively basic build, and I don't have too much to say about it, but hopefully it's something that the Half-Life fans out there can appreciate. Nulled Retry then had another suggestion, which was Adam Jensen from Deus Ex. I think that's his name. This is another one that I think the Chimera core was best suited for. I used the Gungnir helmet with a gold visor just to kind of give the shape of his sunglasses. I also used the Cadet Grey coating and some prosthetic limbs. Honestly, it's definitely not a pretty build overall, but I think I kinda achieved the look to the best of my abilities. And finally, Zane Oswald asked me to make a Xenomorph. Since it's Alien Day today, I had to give this one a shot, making use of that Grimghast helmet, the chest attachment from the Peace Weaver bundle, the Farah shoulder pads to give it that rounded shape at the shoulders, and once again the Cinder Ring coating. I do kind of wish I had a full black coating that didn't have the red lights, because that would really cement this look, but honestly I'm kind of happy with how this one turned out, and I think it's a pretty fine build to close the video out with. Anyway, if you do eventually want a part 5 to this series, let me know down in the comments. I'm probably going to take another short break from doing them so I can work on some other things, and honestly I never really intended for these to go as far as they did, but since you all seem to love them so much, I had to knock a couple more out. If you do have any ideas for builds you'd like me to make sure to join the Discord or follow me over on Twitter. I will leave a link to the Discord in the pinned comment, since whenever I do one of these videos, I usually post about them on those two platforms. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.